So it's been a year after some insane trades in the 2019 NBA offseason. And I think right now is a good time to start grading whether those trades were good or not. And starting with the Paul George trade, you had Paul George traded for 5 first-round picks, Shea Gilgeous-Alexander, and Danilo Gallinari. Liam, what do you grade that trade from both teams?
Yeah, the Clippers just cop an F for this trade so far. I'm going to give them one more season. Obviously, they've got Kawhi and PG contract until the end of next year. But if they do not win a championship, this trade is an F. You know, they've put all their eggs in one basket, and I think OKC won this trade massively. I'd almost give OKC an A+ for this move. They knew that Paul George wanted to leave, and they managed to get 5 first-round picks and 2 really good players out of it. And yeah, I think for the OKC's future, this was a great move. They weren't in that win now mentality. They didn't have the faith in Westbrook and Paul George, and I think that was very well warranted. We saw what Westbrook did in the playoffs this year, losing to LeBron, and yeah, PG couldn't get past the Nuggets. So I think F for the Clippers, A+ for the Thunder.
Yeah.
If I was to give it a letter, unfortunately, after Paul George's performance this season, it would have to be an F. The Clippers gave up a whole lot. Gilgeous-Alexander was developing real nicely, and they gave away some potentially, goated picks. PG was coming off a really good season though. 28 a game, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, and he was shooting almost 40% from 3. But this season he had no excuse, and yeah, unfortunately, because of his abysmal performance, he gets an F from me.
I'm going to kind of go against you guys here. I think that the Clippers get a D in my book. So not quite an F. Obviously, like AP said before, Paul George, he was an MVP candidate and he was playing extremely good basketball last season. Obviously, he didn't live up to that this year. And I think that the trade itself wasn't horrible. I might even upgrade it to a C.
Okay.
Kawhi wouldn't have come if the Clippers didn't get PG. And I think that the failure of the LA Clippers was more a product of coaching and load management, more so than the trade itself. I still do think that the Clippers gave up too much in terms of picks and in terms of the pieces that they gave. 5 first-round picks, that's, you're selling away your entire future for 2 guys. A little bit too much, which is why I'm saying it's, around a D, C- area. If they didn't have the load management, if they had better coaching, they wouldn't have blown that 3-1 lead to the Nuggets. Because remember, they were 1 game away from the Western Conference Finals and playing that Lakers team that they had beaten 2 out of 3 times in the regular season. So for me, I'm not grading it an F, grading it a D, C-. And OKC, obviously, they get an A+. They got 5 first-round picks, bunch of trade capital. They can trade for whoever they want. In terms of the other trade OKC made with Chris Paul and Russell Westbrook, what are you going to grade that offseason move by the Thunder, AP?
OKC, I'd give him an A for that one. Chris Paul led him, pretty deep in the playoffs. They took the Rockets to 7 games. Obviously, the Rockets were a better team. They're more stacked, 2 superstar players. But I mean, look, without Chris Paul, OKC definitely wouldn't have gotten that far. They weren't even predicted to make the playoffs this season. So the fact that they did is an accomplishment in itself. And that trade gets an A. The Russ acquisition for the Rockets, I'd give that a C. Because, I mean, they pretty much waived Clint Capella so Russ could have more spacing on the floor. They pretty much invested in that small ball lineup. But when their players couldn't hit shots, they couldn't do anything, and the Lakers exposed that when they went down 4-1 against them.
Liam, what do you grade the off-season move of Russ for CP3?
Again, I'm going to give the OKC an A+. This was an incredible trade once again. They traded 2 similar players in Chris Paul and Westbrook, in the sense that they control the offense and are very much the leader of their teams. And I think that the 2 first-round picks that the Thunder managed to pick up in this deal as well has been overlooked for the Rockets. I think AB, yes, that C kind of area, because you got to give Westbrook and Harden a couple of seasons to gel. I feel they obviously came up against the Lakers, who will become the champions. So there's not too much shame in losing to them. But I just don't think Westbrook's the man. Westbrook shot 29% from 3 this year, which is just abysmal for a point guard. Averaged a triple-double. Yeah, well done, mate. Shot 67% from free throw line, 42% overall. I think the Thunder made a great deal in getting rid of Westbrook. He's awesome player. Everyone loves to watch him when he's on, but he's just not consistent enough to lead a team to a championship.
For sure. I think that I agree with you guys in terms of the gradings. I think I'll give OKC an A here. Getting Chris Paul obviously was a really good move. Getting those 2 first-round picks as well, and then obviously the 2 pick swaps. Like I said with the PG trade, getting all this draft capital is only going to help them in the future if they need to get rid of contracts, do any of that kind of stuff. They're ready for anything. They have all the pieces to move stuff. In terms of CP3, I feel like that move, grading that is a little bit tough. Everyone wrote him off, right? No one thought he was good when he got traded. Everyone's like, man, as if the Rockets got Russ.
Put some respect.
That's like, the Rockets robbed the Thunder. That's what most people thought of, especially with the Rockets being like those contenders. Those 2 first-round picks, they're going to be in the 20s. They're not that high, so it's not like they're giving away top 10 picks. With that in mind, CP3 did revive his career in OKC.
For sure, man.
So that's kind of part of the reason why I'm giving OKC an A. To be honest, though, I think we saw Russ take a similar team to the playoffs when KD left to go to the Warriors. There wasn't really any pieces around Russ that year, and they made the playoffs with Billy Donovan, and obviously CP3 made the playoffs this year. So, I wouldn't put too much weight onto that. Obviously, much respect to CP3, revived his career, showed he can play at that all-star level, all-NBA level even. But Russ was able to do that with OKC as well, so let's not forget that. In terms of the Rockets, I'm giving him a D. They just gave away a little bit too much for Russell Westbrook, especially the way that they played, especially knowing the system that D'Antoni runs, right? That 3-and-D, space the floor system, and Russ not being that great of a three-point shooter. So for the GM of the Rockets, Daryl Morey, I'd have to give him a D for that move. Not the worst move ever, but also not really that great for the system.
Yeah, just one more thing to add, Mike. With OKC's side of the deal, I think it's looking more and more likely that CP3 will get traded this offseason. You've got the Bucks, the Knicks, and the 76ers all interested. So when you look at this deal, they've got 2 first-round picks off Houston for the initial Westbrook CP3 trade. And now when they move CP3 on to kind of really rebuild, they're going to just acquire even more picks and even more, players for the future. And I just think the offseason, last offseason for the Thunder was just one of the better off-seasons you could have had. You traded away 2 All-Stars, which would hurt for a lot of fans. They've got something to look forward to every game, but the future is looking really bright at the Thunder with all those picks and all the cap space that they'll have once they kind of get rid of CP3's big deal that takes up a lot of their cap space.
They pretty much gave up Russ and PG. In return, they got Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who is looking like he has all-star, possibly all-NBA potential. They got Gallinari, who's a good piece, who they'll probably trade and flip for, probably another pick or a decent young player. CP3, who they're probably going to flip for a pretty high pick, I'm assuming, or a bunch of good pieces. And then also 7 first-round picks and 2 pick swaps.
Insane.
So that's how much value the OKC, Sam Presti, extracted from those 2 guys. So I think OKC in 2021, this offseason as well, they're going to be wheeling and dealing, and you're going to hear more about that in our OKC offseason video. Subscribe to us if you want to see that. But yeah, they have a lot of moves that they can make in the future to potentially get superstars, to draft superstar potential players, and the future's bright for OKC. But in terms of the Rockets and the Clippers, they need to win now. Otherwise, they just gave up all of that for nothing.
Yeah, for sure. And they're going to be crippled. They're going to be the new Knicks if they don't. If they don't make something in the next couple of years.
What do you guys grade the off-season moves by the OKC Thunder, the Houston Rockets, and the Clippers? Let us know down below in the comments.
Hey guys, cheers for making it to the end of the video. Really appreciate your time and listening to our opinions. Whether you agree or disagree with us, please drop a comment down below. Let us know. We're just trying to learn and grow our channel. And talking to growing our channel, feel free to drop us a subscribe as well. Really help us grow and really get our name out there. Really appreciate it, guys.